I sat at the long dinner table, surrounded by a sea of strangers who all shared the same last name, my girlfriend's. The candlelight flickered across their faces, casting long shadows that danced between smirks and raised eyebrows. I knew this was a test, not just of politeness or conversation or charm. This was the kind of test where they wanted to see if I would break. I didn't, but I did something else, something that made her family furious and her grandfather laugh. It started with small jabs, harmless on the surface, comments about my height, jokes about my beard, a few shots at my shaved head. They didn't cut deep, but they weren't meant to. These weren't insults meant to hurt. They were probes, checking to see if I'd flinch, if I'd fold, if I'd try too hard to fit in. I didn't. They laughed. I smiled. Then came the jab about my job. I work in IT. It's not flashy, but I'm good at what I do, and it pays well. One of them made some snide remark about keyboard warriors and guys who couldn't change a tire if their life depended on it. I wasn't planning to respond, but I did. Calmly, I told them my income. Suddenly, that line of jokes died quickly. Funny how that works, but it didn't stop. Her older brother, maybe he thought he was the alpha of the pack, leaned in harder. He took issue with the fact that I played lacrosse in high school, said it was a rich kid's sport, said it wasn't manly like football or baseball. He laughed while he said it, and so did most of the table, all except my girlfriend, who kept her eyes locked on her plate, her cheeks glowing pink. Then he delivered the punchline. Hey, we're just a big Italian family. We're loud, and we tell it how we see it. That's when I stopped smiling and started speaking. In Italian. Every word, every phrase, every sentence that followed from me came in the language they claimed as part of their identity. I watched their faces shift, from amused to confused to something close to panic. I wasn't angry. My voice stayed calm, steady. I just kept going. 1 minute, that's all it took. My girlfriend's head dropped into her hands, but her grandfather, he laughed. A real laugh, from deep in his belly. Not mocking, not cruel, just honest. Then they started to interrupt. We don't speak Italian, one of the brothers said, almost as a defense. And that's when I said it. Then don't use your Italian heritage as an excuse to behave poorly when you can't even speak the language. Silence. The kind that stretches longer than it should. The kind that hangs heavy, like humidity before a storm. And then, the grandfather spoke. He told them I was right, and that they needed to be quiet. You could feel the air shift, like something sacred had just been broken open. We finished dinner. Nobody spoke to me much after that. That night, my girlfriend didn't say much either. She wasn't mad, but I could feel her shame. Not at me, not really, but at the way her family had acted. The way they had dug into me like it was a game. She told me later that she wanted to disappear into the floor the moment I started speaking Italian. But 2 days after, when the dust had settled, she said what I did was the right thing, that it was funny even. Her sister reached out to her later, told her that the men in the family were livid, that I had disrespected them, that I was a smartass, that what I did was unforgivable. Unforgivable? For what? Speaking a language they claimed to be their heritage? Matching their aggression with calm clarity? Giving them a taste of their own medicine without raising my voice? Here's the thing. I never went to that dinner looking for a fight. I knew what I was walking into. I was warned. I understood the script. The men would posture, They'd throw their weight around, test me, and I was expected to take it, smile through it, endure it, maybe even laugh with them, and earn their approval by not fighting back. But that's not respect. That's hazing. And if their version of manhood is built on the ability to humiliate someone else while hiding behind the mask of culture, then maybe that masculinity deserves to be disrespected. I didn't yell. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't make a scene. I just showed them what it looked like when someone actually understood the culture they claimed to represent. And in doing so, I held up a mirror. And they didn't like what they saw. Her grandfather did, though. I think he spent years listening to these grown boys pretend, watching them swagger about with their Italian pride, while slowly forgetting the things that actually mattered. Maybe he'd given up on saying anything. Maybe he thought no one would call them out. Maybe for a moment, he saw something in me he hadn't seen at that table in a long time. Respect for something real. The truth? I was nervous going in. I wanted them to like me. I wanted to make a good impression. But I wasn't going to sit there and be a punching bag just to be allowed into the family. Because real family doesn't make you prove your worth by tearing you down. So, am I the asshole? Because I spoke Italian to a group of people who claimed to be Italian and embarrassed them? Because I didn't back down when they tried to make me small? Because I told the truth in a language they didn't bother to learn? Or is it possible that the only reason they're mad is because I passed their test and made them fail their own? You tell me, was I out of line? Or did I just play by their rules and win? So, am I the asshole? There's a line in this story that echoes long after the last fork hits the plate. Don't use your heritage as an excuse to behave poorly when you can't even speak the language. There's something powerful in that, something universal. Because how many of us have met people who wrap themselves in culture, not as something to celebrate, but as something to shield bad behavior? That's just how we are. It's tradition. We tell it like it is. We've heard it. Some of us have said it. But culture is not a license to wound. It's not a free pass to disrespect others. It's not the armor we wear to avoid accountability. The real beauty of heritage, Italian, Irish, Korean, Nigerian, Mexican, you name it, is in how it connects us to values, to history, to language, to humility, to community, not to cruelty. This story, it's not about a boyfriend embarrassing a family. It's about someone quietly reclaiming dignity, his and maybe theirs too. It's about what happens when someone holds a mirror up to performative identity and does it with grace. And maybe, just maybe, it's also about a grandfather who saw truth in a moment and chose to honor it, even when it came from the new guy at the table. If you've ever felt small at someone else's table, if you've ever had to shrink yourself to be accepted, or if you've ever found the courage to speak the truth in a language someone else refused to learn, then this story is for you. Now we ask you, have you ever been tested by someone's family? Did you pass quietly or speak up in your own way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And as always, if you've got a story like this, the vault is open. This is AITA Story Vault. We remember what happened, so you don't forget what matters.